Hi everyone, welcome. So here's an update on what's going on in Enugu State. For those who have asked that I give them a daily update on what's going on in Enugu State. So the Enugu State government has vowed to investigate and arrest individuals engaged in illegal task force of collecting revenue from scavengers in the state. The secretary to the state government, Professor Chidiebere Onya, disclosed this recently. Decrying the activities of the illegal task force, Onya said the state government would investigate the report and punish those parading themselves as members according to the provisions of the law. He, however, acknowledged that a committee was set up by the state government through his office. He explained that the committee was charged with reviewing some of the options that could help address activities of scavengers in the state as they pose a threat to the safety of the people. And so I have a particular clip that I'm going to play for you guys a little later. He therefore warned the public not to pay money to anyone or any task force team that claims to be working for the government as revenue collectors. He said that the governor had directed that those funds collected illegally by the so-called Environment Task Force be recovered immediately. So it's a welcome development. The Enugu State government is shoring up the internally generated revenue. And as a matter of fact, just in case you don't know, the Enugu State internally generated revenue has moved up more than 100%. In fact, more than 200%, in fact. And that's because of the drive of the governor. Even though we know that people are complaining bitterly on the street, that most of the tax have been actually increased, and some persons also complain about multiple taxation. So this multiple taxation, now we now know where it's coming from. There are some persons who have illegally, abrogated onto themselves the authority to start collecting monies from people, and that is playing out from what the secretary to the state government is saying. Saying there are people who are illegally collecting monies and they already know them. They have even numbers, they have tellers, they have accounts that these monies have been paid into. So investigations are already going on. I mean, that's the way the government should actually work. And something I've also noticed, because Peter Mba is from a business environment, unlike his predecessors who have always been in government and all that. Of course, Peter Mba was in government at some point. That was in between 1999 and 2007 under Chimaroke Nemani. He served in a capacity as a commissioner at the time. But after that, we have seen him gone on to become the CEO of Pinnacle Oil and Gas. And after that, of course, that from then on, he became the governor of the state. So he has been in business most of his life. So he's running the state like a businessman. It's not a welfareist style that we are used to, under previous administration. Even people who have gone to visit him in the government house, some people complain that they don't get to see him in person. You don't get to shake him, take pictures. All you do is more like a gadget. You are shown a gadget and then you converse with him, and if there's something that you need to speak to him about, you speak to him about that. Those are things I've heard. All right. Even when I went to government house, I didn't see him. We did the Twitter space conversation with him. We were in the government house. The team was in the government house, but we didn't see him. Even before the Twitter space started. Even after the Twitter space, of course, it was expected that you are going to interview the governor, right? You are in the government house, so you're going to shake him and at least say hi to him, all right? But we did not. That was the first shocker, So when people normally say that you can't really see even when you go to the government house, you can't really see the governor, I doubted them, because you should be able to see the governor when you go to see the governor somehow. But it happened to me. But it's not a big deal. You don't really have to see the people who are in government in order for governance to work. That's the truth. So the government of Enugu feels that, look, he's a digital governor. You can be anywhere and see him. As long as you have a way of connecting with him, whether through social media or through any other means, through gadgets, if you can get to him, speak to him about something, do that. So that's where I think that the government is going, and that's the reason why some persons in Enugu are a little bit paranoid. Like, I didn't really see these guys like that we're used to in the past. Don't really see him around. Somebody's doing some celebration, he's there, except for few events that you will see him notably around for social gatherings. But I mean, beyond that, you really hardly see him because he tends to be a very business-minded person. Now, back to the conversation around the fact that people are, collecting tax illegally. I mean, there needed to be clarity, because there are people who will pay some monies to a certain account. At the end of the day, another set of people will come and ask for monies. That has been complained to us, even as media people have complained to us. Well, we tend to think that what the government say, because I know I've hosted the Commissioner for Finance, is that what they say is that it's just that people are used to paying certain amount of monies to people. More like, how this thing works, trying to cut corners. So somebody comes to meet you, purportedly from the organization that is into collecting revenue, and then you do a deal with them and say for instance, if you are supposed to be paying 100,000 naira for that particular tax, he tells you, okay, just pay 25,000 naira, and then he would leave you, because he is the one that is in charge of that zone where you live, or where your shop is, or where your business is. Then he leaves you, and then you go away. But right now, there's nothing. Nobody comes to disturb you. It's digital. They just come and ask you, have you paid? And then they give you. There's some sort of. You are paying digitally. So it's not like a manual thing that happens. You're giving somebody money directly, or you're paying into a personal pocket or something. No. That existed in the past, but now it's different. Now you are paying the real amount. If the amount is 100,000 naira, you must pay that 100,000 naira. There's nothing reduced in that sense. And so because of that, people are thinking, there's no way to cut corners in this thing. Is there a way we can, even if it means paying instrumentally or something? So that is what the government said to us in this regard, that this is actually what happens. People are used to cutting corners, and then now we have a government that is not used to cutting corners. They want you to pay the tax as it is. They did not increase anything, so they said, quoting them, so that nobody will come at me and say, oh well, this is what it used to be and this is what they're paying now. And given the prevailing situation of the economy, taxes have to be paid, and these monies must be used, to develop the infrastructure that they have in Enugu State. So these are actually some of the things. Chidebere is screaming that the governor had to call him and say he should quickly check this thing and nip it in the bud. And I'm sure that's why he brought up this press conference, asking that they're going to get to the root cause of this, and that they're going to finally nip it in the bud and bring those people to book and recover all of the monies that have been paid to some other persons who are not authorized to receive these monies. All right. So let's listen to him. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. See you later.
Review the concerns we've had around scavenging in Enugu State, both security and otherwise. That committee was constituted by some members sitting down here, and the job of that committee was very clear, to set up and review some of the options that can help us address scavenging as a threat to the safety of Enugu, and also to be able to see how do we create a structure that allows for legal recycling process with SWAMA to occur. We have not done a lot as it relates to the recycling part, but it came to our knowledge that a task force was set up, and the task force that was set up was termed Environmental Task Force. So I want to let Enugu know that there is no task force that's been set up by the government of Enugu State around environmental matters and authorized to collect revenue by people that are supposed to be in that task force. We are going to find out as a government who constituted this task force. We have tons of evidence here that we're investigating. who constitute this task force and where this revenue has been paid into. And we hope, for the interest of those that are involved, which we already have that information, that all the revenue collected here had gone into the state IGR account or the state environmental account that is set up that we can monitor. We already have the answer to that. And I'm going to find out also the role that SWAMA played in this task force. A lot of people, we have petitions here written to His Excellency, causing the governor to be alarmed and has directed that I investigate the matter. But he also wanted me to announce that there is no task force here outside the one that I had constituted in this room, and that task force is constituted of the CEO of the SWAMA of our Enugu State Environmental Authority, the SSA for Security, the CSO, the SA for Communication Judge, the SSA for Revenue, and the SA for Revenue Generation and Monitoring. These are the only people in that task force. Anybody that has been parading themselves as members of a task force outside my knowledge, which means outside the knowledge of the governor of Enugu State, because he has signed that I chair this group, anything must happen through my knowledge. And if it's been going on, the government of Enugu State is not involved in this process. We are going to find out the process that has led to it, and we'll address it very directly. And all the people that money have been collected, I assure you people that we are going to get to the bottom of it. That's why some of the stakeholders were invited here, members of the so-called recycling committee that was set up. I heard that a recycling committee was set up and vetted in the government house. Without my knowledge or approval, I need to understand what is called Government House Environmental Task Force. That's what is in the petition that I see here. We have evidence of payments, we have bank tellers, we have all sorts, and the government directed that I recover all that fund that was collected. From now henceforth, there is no illegal task force going around, and we are going to constitute a proper process with guidelines. It's just approve a second level of authorizations on how this matter will be addressed. His Excellency has just approved that, and the Chief of Staff has communicated that to me. I'm going to set up that team with clear guidelines and with SWAMA as the authority that statutorily is responsible for environmental matter, with our revenue team that assures that all revenue goes to the states, and with the security team that will delineate scavenging as a security problem and recycling as an entrepreneurial venture. We're going to make sure that all these things are clearly done with a guideline, and that guideline will be circulated across the state to all the people that are involved. So if at any point in time anybody comes to you to pay money, refrain from paying money to anybody and contact my office right away. And we're going to find out all those that are involved in the shenanigans and causing the governor reputational risk, because governor told me himself in writing and verbally that is not the one that authorized this task force, because he said to me, how can he authorize a task force that he has already given me the directive to set up? So I need to understand the role SWAMA played in all this. If there's a role at all, I'm going to set up an investigating team, but he's asked that I give him feedback in 48 hours. We're writing officially to the security agencies, the DSS, and the regular people to get the details of the account information of those people, that the three accounts that most of the payments have been made to. We're going to find out the warehouse where things are confiscated and taken to who owns it. We're going to run a check on the Corporate Affairs Commission of those that are sitting behind the company. We're going to do a thorough job, because what this governor stands for, and we're getting the legal counsel to make sure that we cover the whole legalities. If we do not get the right processes in place and the money is returned, we will move to prosecute those people. The government of Enugu State, we will not take people going around and tarnishing the reputation of this government. We're very particular about that. And everybody involved, regardless of who they are, will pay the price for this. So I brought in the press to understand that we are doing, we're working together to ensure that our environmental commitments we made are very clear and we're adhering to it. The security commitments we made as it relates to people walking around our neighborhoods and carrying things and robbing people all in the name of scavengers, that we address it decisively. But that is not a substitute to now going around and carrying people's things and confiscating it and charging them money. And they are paying that money to a name here that reflects that the state has sanctioned it. Any monies we collect has a revenue code. That's why we have an assurance team, a revenue code that ensures that it goes into the state's IGR account. Individuals do not collect money for us, except those that are licensed by the Internal Revenue Service that issue demand notices. And SWAMA will know those, and we will be clear that this is a demand notice issue and this is our sanctioned contractors. There's a process we do this, and we spend 1 year cleaning out that process across the state. We can't go back to what was going on before this governor came into the office. That's why he's asked that the governor has asked that I make a public pronouncement on this, and that SWAMA is going to lead with the committee that I will set up on the guidelines and publicize it. And those of you that I'm sure the Recycling Association is here, those of you that are there, you will now follow that process, that guideline. It will be transparent. Nobody should charge you ahead, they're charging you 1 million naira or whatever. If you pay it, you're on your own. There's no payment. The ones you have paid, I need you to submit, or when the investigation team calls you, that investigation team will be led by the Chief Counsel to His Excellency, Osinachi. Sitting down here will lead that investigation with a couple of other people. Our revenue assurance team members will be there. We're going to go through all the submissions and we'll do a thorough job as we always do as a state. And anybody caught, we have sent people to jail. From next week, you're going to hear the number of people that the Attorney General said we're going to now start publicizing it. And there are people that are involved in collecting state money and putting inside their private accounts without any form of due process. You never collect state money and put into your account under whatever pretense. So I'm addressing people directly to talk to your colleagues. From now henceforth, nobody has the authority to come and charge you anymore. We must go through the guideline. If you don't make the cut for the requirement to be recognized as a recycling entity, then you know clearly that you don't. If somebody makes it, then you can now form yourself as a cooperative through the person that has the license and work as a unit. But we don't want to mix legitimate business and criminality. If there's criminality, we have the right people here also in that team to find out who is a criminal. But we will not also kill entrepreneurial ventures in our state. We don't mix apples and oranges. You people would have raised this alarm to me a long time ago. This matter would have been addressed a long time ago. Till we started hearing this, we've heard a lot. The governor heard even before me and called me to have this committee. He is upset about this, very upset. So we're going to get to the bottom of that. In Enugu State, we don't discourage people that are doing legitimate business, but we will fight illegality. If you're involved in any form of illegal conduct, we will fight it. But if you are involved in legitimate business, paying your taxes, employing people to do work, we will support you. But we're going to set a guideline to do that. That's why this committee is going to work on. So there's a committee for setting up the guideline led by Eswama, and there will be a committee for investigating what has happened led by the governor's chief counsel. And they will have exactly 1 week to come back. I'm going to go to His Excellency and tell him I've had this meeting, like he told me,